So I stumbled across this series while I was in graduate school, and I must say it is the favorite. If I had to pick like one publisher, one printing press that I was going to be getting my material from, it would be this one. Mainly because you can experience the development of the entire wing of relational frame theory, all that sort of verbal behavior, RFT, sorting out that they did, and the philosophy underlying it, and functional contextualism. And they have a lot of practical, good, useful content. So it's this mix between like a really cool development of the history of our field and a subsection of that field, but also has a lot of really useful tools for practitioners. Topics include autism, history of behavioral therapies, not just behavior analysis, but behavioral therapies, language and cognition, rule-governed behavior, more context and cognition. This one is fantastic. The really nerdy stuff. And one of my favorites from Tony Biglin on cultural behavior. Like, that is the pinnacle of what behavior analysis is trying to help inform for the better. This is a classic. RFT ethics, that's always important, very important. Perspective taking, advances on RFT, and a couple others here. What do we got? Education, we're all in education to some extent, right? And then these are actually a good segue. So how they came up with a lot of these different books was actually really interesting. So Steve was the first person who really ingrained in me, like, you need to create your own pillar, your own places where you're going to record and document things. This is one for me, obviously. The podcast is another. So the way they went about doing it was through conferences. So after a conference, papers are something you go to a conference, you present, may or may not get published. It kind of depends on where you're going with it, right? Well, originally those papers were actual papers, and they would read them and present them. Some presenters still do this. Now, my best understanding, and from gathering some of the history of these different conferences and events that they held, was a conference was held on a particular topic, say dialogues on verbal behavior. And let's just open this up real quick. Contributors: Paul Andronis, Bill Chase, Jeff Danforth, John Donahoe, Maria Garcia, Steve, Linda Hayes, Joe Lang, Dick Mlock, Jack Marr, Dave Palmer, Hayne Reese, and there's probably 8 or 10 others that were in there. So these people would come together, hang out, talk, present their work, and then they would publish them. So it's not always the final products that make it in classes and such, but they are nonetheless extremely valuable. Reading through, I've read about 80% of these, and you get to see the literature line grow throughout time. It's really cool to understand. You can see the problems that they were solving and such. What I've done today is I've got 2 more gift cards. Now, some of these are able to be picked up for about $5 a use, so hopefully someone can pick up a free book. The Amazon link is in the description below. Just do me a favor and say, hey, thank you in the comments or something like that. Let everybody know that you snagged it, so we're not all wasting our time trying to see if it's still good. And make sure you come back for more, because I'm going to start actually diving into these. I'm curious. Let me know which one you're interested in most. And with that said, this is your Daily BA.